Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.
You know, there's something about learning about crimes, heinous crimes that happened while you were still alive. While you're alive, I mean, that just feels even more creepy than stuff in the distant past. I don't know what it is, but it just makes your skin crawl. And guess what? If you're within the sound of my voice, that must mean that you're in the seats with once more. As always, my name is Dave Voigt, and I'm the host of this podcast where we sit down with a wide-ranging variety of entertainment industry professionals. We pick their brain about current projects, state of the industry, how they got started, and so very much more in a light and in a conversational fashion. And, you know, if you like how we do things around here, I'm going to assume that you do, because let's face it, you're listening right now. If you are, please keep listening and subscribe. Hit the subscribe button, gives you a 5-star rating on your podcast provider of choice. We're available pretty much everywhere, places like Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Google, and plus we archive every single one of our episodes over at our In the Seats YouTube channel. So please give us a like and subscribe there as well. We really appreciate it. Also, don't hesitate to check us out on social media. We're on the Facebook, the Twitter, the Instagram, Letterboxd, the TikTok, the Blue Sky, the Threads. We're kind of everywhere. It's getting ridiculous, but we're at In the Seats for all sorts of fun updates. And finally, and I do dare say most importantly, please come by and pay us a visit over at In the Seats, intheseats.ca, for all the latest and greatest from the world of film, television, basically the moving image at large. Because guess what? If we love to watch it and write about it and talk about it, we love it all that much more when you come by and read about it and listen about it. So please do us that ultimate kindness, come on by and pay us a visit. On this episode, we're getting our foreign film on with a film that is arriving on video-on-demand platforms tomorrow, January 16th. It's called Maldorer from writer-director Fabrice du Welz, and this is, based on, inspired by a true story of two girls vanishing, and then a police recruit joins a covert unit to track a sex offender, and then the operation goes wrong, and then this recruit goes on his own and becomes more and more disillusioned with the constraints of the law. It's actually based on a true story that gripped and shook the Belgian French legal system with a serial killer they had to deal with in the 90s. I did not know this story, but it's do a little research. It's kind of fascinating, but this is a very grisly film, and it's occasionally hard to watch, but it also evokes memories of David Fincher's Zodiac, and it really is a piece of cinema that speaks to the torment that law enforcement can go through when dealing with and sort of being faced with these horrific crimes that they have to confront and solve. And it is a really fantastic thriller. It did the festival rounds. It played Fantastic Fest, a few of the places. I know it just played Palm Springs as well. But now it's going to be on video on demand for the lot of us, and we had the unique pleasure of sitting down with writer-director Fabrice du Welz over Zoom to talk about it, and we did, and then some. This is a fascinating story, and he's an interesting guy who makes some really interesting movies. So go to your video on demand platforms tomorrow. Check out Maldorer from our friends over at Film Movements. But first, enjoy our talk with Fabrice, because between you and me, it's a darn good one. Well, I mean, Fabrice, obviously, first off, just thank you so much for the time, and I mean, congratulations on the film. I got to watch it last night, man. I loved it. It's such a ride. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you very much.
Now, I mean, I guess my first question is, walk me through wanting to tell this story, because I mean, I did a little research, and I mean, I saw what it was sort of inspired by, and I mean, this is really a wild story.
Yeah, it's huge. Well, it's based on a true story that happened in Belgium mid 90s, and it was really big at the time. I was 20, 22, 23 when it hits Belgium, and you can feel it in the air that something is completely changed. It embraced the country. It embraced also all the country close to Belgium, France, Luxembourg, Germany. It's just like a panic. Just like in The Offense by Lumet, by Sydney Lumet. You can tell before and after something completely changed. And So I was quite young, and at the time I was dreaming becoming a director, and I always thought at the time, I remember, that could be a great movie to deal with, because there is so many layers, so many protagonists, antagonists, and but of course I was too an experiment and too young, and mostly 25 years after, I embrace it, and we try to summarize a little bit, and also invent a character who has his own distinct point of view on the story, and is fighting for justice. Well, justice, I don't know, is about the dilemma between justice and law, just like you can see in Dirty Harry, what is justice, what is law, and what is the difference between those two. So that's the context of the story, and the real fact.
Well, and I mean, I love that character too because I mean, Anthony obviously does a great job in this, and I mean, it's one of those things where we see sort of how a crime can torture law enforcement in so many ways. Can you talk to me a little bit about, I guess, casting and I mean, finding the right people to really convey the, I mean, I'm trying to find the right word, but almost like filthy despair of it all.
Well, yeah, I understand. It was a ride, because because of the responsibility of the story. You know the it's based on the Dutroux case, what we call in l'affaire Dutroux, the Dutroux case in Belgium and France. Dutroux is still in jail right now. He's still in
Well,
jail.
thank God.
Yeah, mostly 30 years after. Um, and so there is a lot of victims and collateral victims, and it's very complex. So I don't want to go to dig into details too much, because I can lose myself and lose everybody. But there is a lot of responsibility to deal with that story. So we try to be at face it, that's responsibility, and also to face the fact that we wanted to not making a documentary, to making a piece of cinema. So I was very concerned about the context. That's why the beginning is taking so much time to build a very strong current context. And because of the story happened in South Belgium, it used to be very rich during the 19th centuries, because of the mine, and that it was just before the industrial revolution. So it was a very rich country, especially the south. Now it's very poor, very, very poor. And there is a lot of immigrant at the time, especially mostly Italian immigrants. That's why we have a huge Sicilian communities at the beginning of the film, because also in the real story, it's based on South Belgium, and there is a lot of Italian community. The Italian community is concerned about that, and one of the girls who died into the basement come from that community, community. So I wanted to build a very straightforward and honest context before building the cinema. You understand what I mean?
No, I do because I mean I can imagine this is one of those things where you said obviously a lot of it is fictionalized. There's a lot of elements that are fictionalized, but at the same time, you want to stay true to the story that obviously has affected you in a very personal way. Like, how do you kind of balance the two? Because I mean, obviously, at the end of the day, as a filmmaker, if something that may have actually happened doesn't work in the film, you kind of have to sort of make those push and pull sacrifices.
Yeah. Well, it happened in different layers. First, it was the screenwrite. The screenwriting takes a lot of time, because, as you said, it's a long film, but it was longer because there is so many ramifications, so many contexts, so many characters, so many protagonists, so many different backgrounds. You have the police, you have the gendarmerie, you have the local police, you have the prostitution area, you have the redneck environment, you have so many different backgrounds. You have to be faithful to that. And I wanted to, at the beginning, to have a kind of a documentary approach, and then slowly switch to a kind of mostly more sophisticated point of view. That of course it's Paul Chartier, the main character, point of view, POV. To become a little bit more expressionist at the end. Starting from the background, the reality, the documentary aspect, and then slowly shift into kind of a expressionist point of view, because it's his point of view who prevail. So it was built based on the writing. It takes a lot of time. We made a lot of research. We playing back and forward between the writing and the research to find the right balance between what is the reality, what was the reality at the time, and what we try to achieve and to tell based on a fiction point of view. And then during the shooting, well, before the shooting, it was gathering the most homogenetic casting, based on wild casting and a professional actor, to try to reach that kind of catharsis, if I may say, at the end, to to make Paul Chartier's character into the kind of reality that he tried to chase. He chased justice, but what the fuck is justice? Who can tell me that? That was the goal. It was, and then after, of course, there is the editing process, because we had a huge material, so we tried to articulate that based on what I said previously. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, like you said, it's chasing the catharsis for, I can imagine, for probably the people of Belgium in general. But I mean, at the same time, a lot of this film, and I mean this totally as a compliment, played a little bit like Fincher's Zodiac,
Yeah.
where there's sort of an unsettledness to it and an unresolved nature to it. I mean, I'm kind of curious. I can imagine, in many ways, this could be a story that could be very uncomfortable, especially if you're, in Belgium, to watch and to sort of see. Was there any kind of sort of reaction or pushback to, like, oh my God, why do you have to tell that story?
Yeah, you're right. Zodiac was a very huge reference for us, first for me, because mostly I used to love deeply Fincher's films before he gets to Netflix. But that's true, So and also we're talking about Bong Joon-ho, A Memory of Murder.
Yeah,
It's there is kind of connection, but I try to, of course, the huge reference, because it's once again an isolated character fighting for justice, or try to accomplish, to try to search his vérité. What is the vérité? We don't know. But in fact, because I'm a cinephile before being a filmmaker, I'm obsessed with films all the time, all my life. So it's always thinking about film. But that's why, we wanted to make a movie, but not a documentary. We wanted to make a very contextualized movie, just like you can tell in early Cimino film, that you can feel it seems real.
yeah,
People
yeah,
looks real. They don't look funny or fictional. You can relate to them. You can relate to the flesh and soul. You can relate to them. So we wanted to build that, and getting to a kind of a different aspect of the true fact. It's the catharsis, because the catharsis for me that's something that I find in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood by Tarantino, that a movie I love so much. I know by heart. I was obsessed with that movie. I saw that movie many, 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 many times, for many reasons. But the main reason for me is faith in cinema, the love and faith in cinema. With the tools of cinema and the faith in cinema, you can transcend something. You can heal people. You can heal yourself, and you can heal people. And that's the big, big force of cinema, I think. It's not only entertaining. It's not only, of course, it's entertaining too, but there is a sacred aspect of cinema for me, just like great art. You
yeah.
can reach a moment where you can heal, and you can um, diminish the suffering of someone, or You get what I mean, it's so I wanted to reach that catharsis, but not in a vigilant way, because it's not a vigilant, and I love vigilant, but it's not a vigilant. It's just a main character facing two main questions: evil and justice. What is evil? What is justice? And then at one point he has to make a decision. I don't want to spoil, of course, but he has to make a decision. And he made a decision, and that decision is not in reality. That's something completely different. And it's not because I wanted to make a bloody ending. It's not a bloody ending. It's just something makes sense, for me, uh, and for many people in my country, for example.
No, and I love that you reference the 70s with like the offense, and even something like Prince of the City comes to mind. Like this Paul Chartier character, he's not doing it to be a hero. He has to do it to be able to look himself in the mirror when he gets up in the morning. That's sort of his drive.
Absolutely, you're perfectly right. That's why people talk a lot about Fincher or Bong Joon-ho or even Tarantino. But for me, it's something else. It's much fun. Of course, I love those films and I love those directors, but it's much more connected to Sydney Lumet and mostly The Offense, because I know The Offense was a very total flop at the box office at the time, but
But it's a great movie.
it's a fantastic movie. It's one of my favorite movie from. Of course, I love Serpico and King of New York and stuff like, and those cop films also. But The Offense, it's very close thematically to Maldorer. What we try to achieve here.
Is that 70s style of cinema from, especially from New York, is that kind of what inspired you to sort of have that dream to be a filmmaker back in the day?
Yes, yes, because there is a tendency in France and Belgium cinema that shooting in location in France or Belgium to make it look like American.
Right. Yeah.
Completely bullshit. It's because the imperialism, the cinema imperialism eats us alive, and but there is no way to do that. When you can face a location just like the way it is. It's just picking the right location with the good light and the good actor, and it's exactly what those directors we talking about, especially the great American cinema from the 70s, Pakula or Lumet or those guys. They live in New York, for example. You can feel, you smell. You smell, and also we're talking about Lumet, but there is also my first love. My first love is Toby Hooper. Toby Hooper, Texas
Yeah.
Chainsaw Massacre was so important in my life. I wanted to approach, and I want to approach all my film in a very visceral and organic way than I was able to face it when I was a teenager, in front of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But that's only references, huh? But and I honestly I don't care about references mostly when I do the film, but it come from there. I wanted to be just. I wanted to be honest, based on the people that I'm living with. Well, I'm not living in South Belgium, but I know that neighborhood, and the location and what it's like in the 90s. Because when you do a movie about 90s, it's differences, but you have to be just. You have to be honest about every aspect that you choose, and not choosing the location or the line, or even the scene based on the efficientiality of the script. You have to be honest based on the character, what they live, what they go through. You get what I mean?
Yeah. 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 And I mean, because I mean, I love that you brought up Toby Hooper because Maldorer, it has that energy to it. It's not a horror movie, but it's a real life horror.
Yeah.
And I mean, and that's one of those things that kind of draws audiences in. And I mean, it's again to me, and I watch it, and I mean, obviously, this played festivals, you've had Run, now it's going to be opening. It really does feel like in this day and age of content streaming. I know these are all dirty words because I mean, I still love cinema. I love experiencing cinema properly. How important is it to you to, I guess, sort of keep to your vision? as opposed to sort of playing the algorithm game, like you said, but maybe somebody like a Fincher has started to do a little bit. It really does feel like, on one end, it can easily go down that route, but on the other hand, if you stay true to yourself, the cream does eventually rise to the top.
Well, I'm not judging Fincher or everybody. Everybody
Oh no,
tried
of
to,
course, no, no,
of
yeah,
course, it's just what I do like is cinema. I love cinema. And those days it became it became a bit erratic. It became a little bit difficult. Well, to my perspective, maybe, it's not the perspective of everybody, but I come from a world. It was a feast to go to the cinema. It was um, a great moment to discover films and director, and we find it, we're looking for it, and we build a kind of knowledge of cinema and the language. For me, cinema is a language, so I have no choice. I want to make films. I'm living for that. I want to make films. So I deal with that. It's sometimes a bit complicated because the world is changing. The streaming is all over, and there is a kind of everything look a little bit the same. There is no, just like the world is a little bit more binary, it's
yeah.
extremely white or extremely black. And I do love the different gray zone, but it makes me maybe a little bit unfashionable, but I don't care. I have to do what I have to do. For now, I'm dying. I'm struggling to raise the money for my next film, and it's very ambitious because it's based on the exploitation of the rubber in Congo
Oh
under the
wow.
reign of Leopold, the King Leopold II, and it's a terrible story that nobody talk about it. It's mostly between 3 and 13 million of dead people at the end of the 19th century. And I think it demands a film. It demands something. And we're struggling to get the money, but I hope we will get there finally. But if I have no choice, I have to stick to my vision. I want, yeah, life is too short.
Well, that's why I've always loved your work, though, because I mean, it's you've always, at least from my perspective, I mean, with this and Calvert, there's something about what you do that colors just outside the lines, if that makes any kind of sense, and allows us to sort of blend genres and blend ideas. And I mean, at the end of the day, like for you as a storyteller, I mean, obviously, what you just told me about this new film sounds amazing, ambitious, but I mean, amazing. How do you feel audiences are, I guess, maybe ready for other things? Because I mean, again, as much as people will line up in droves to go see the hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollar budget movies, and that's great and that's fine, it does feel like there's almost a an audience right now that wants the counterculture, that wants sort of film that feels a little bit more tactile, like the films that you make.
Hopefully. I don't know. I always felt a little bit just like a maverick, just a little bit outside the box, but that's okay with me. It's not a problem. It's the way it is, and I don't want to complain. I just want to move forward to the next film. Um, of course, I want I want one day to reach a major audience. It could be great to have a film who aim a little bit more successful.
Of course.
Maldorer gets a digital release in the States. Well, I know it's a very difficult territory right now with foreign cinema, but I would hope a real proper theater release. But it's the way it is. What can I say? Crying? No, it won't change anything. So I brick by brick, my friends, brick by brick, and
Well,
we
and
see
that's
at
what
the end of the
matters, right?
road.
Because I mean, at the end of the day, people who know your work from fests like Fantastic Fest, and I mean other places where you've been a regular, are obviously going to find Maldorer. And I mean, I can't wait for more people to see it. Honestly, this is a great piece of work. Keep being a bit of a maverick, and just again, thank you for the time, man. I really do appreciate this.
You're welcome. Take care.
You're very welcome. All right, bye.
Say hello to Toronto for me.
Absolutely, my friend.
Miss
We'll see you
Toronto.
soon. We'll see. Hopefully, we'll see you soon.
And don't forget to visit our friends over at Bay Street Video for all your DVD, Blu-ray rental, or purchasing needs this summer, as they are still open for curbside and some mailing delivery as well. Over at 1172 Bay Street, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, you can give them a call at 416-964-9088. That's 416-964-9088. Or send them an email at baystreetvideoto@gmail.com for any of your DVD and Blu-ray needs.